Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to Three Rivers Broadcasting presentation of The Corner Kick. I'm your host, Alex Fidrishevsky. That's the Waste Management ticker going across the bottom of the screen. Great to be with everyone once again for another Monday night. We are very proud to be with you. We've got a very busy Monday night. You're watching us here on the website. You're watching us on Stream B right now as Franciscan University's men's basketball team is about to tip off with St. Vincent, part of our big Franciscan basketball partnership. We just produced the second installment of This Week in Franciscan Basketball. And let's just bring them up very quickly. Thank them for their partnership with us here at Three Rivers Broadcasting before we dip into the corner kick. Academically excellent, passionately Catholic, one of the finest Catholic colleges in the country, growing enrollment over 40 different majors. That's Franciscan University of Steubenville, Ohio. We'd like to thank them for being our new partner here at Three Rivers Broadcasting. Of course, our title sponsor for our sports, Polish Falcons of America. Give them a call for more information about life insurance and financial services. 1-800-535-2071. That's 1-800-535-2071. Now let's get into it here. We're going to talk about, well, the weekend that wasn't for the U.S. national team. Now, normally we like to start with, with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds as they're our hometown team here. They are opening up preseason. They had the first day of practice today. Didn't get a chance to get over there like I was hoping to, as we had to go out to Steubenville to do the Franciscan basketball program, but that's okay. Since we were here last, they added another player to the roster and also signed up 84 Lumber to be a promotional partner. So pretty busy for them. The player they signed, Angelo Kelly Rosales, played with the Charleston Battery, was the leader for games played and minutes played, also led them in tackles. Good addition to the defensive midfield, and that's where we're going to leave it for right now. And we'll come back to that probably next week because we want to talk about the World Cup qualifying cycle for the United States. Now, on paper, the United States still looks pretty good under Greg Berhalter. They are tied with Mexico, second in the octagon for World Cup qualifying. Canada sits now clear with 22 points ahead of the United States. If you didn't catch yesterday's debacle or the Twitter fire that happened afterwards, Canada US 0. 2-0 is the new 2-0 for them. Bookending the game in the 7th minute, Kyle Larin opens the scoring at Tim Hortons Field. Sam Adekubi late with another well-deserved strike. Greg Berhalter's side looked absolutely pathetic and inept out there the entire contest, as they did earlier in the week on the 27th in their pathetic 1-0 victory over El Salvador. If it wasn't for Anthony Robinson's laser, they probably lose the game or walk away with a 0-0 draw. It was absolutely horrific to watch, and it's another indictment of the horrible tactics of Greg Berhalter as a manager. The same Greg Berhalter, the same guy that got fired in Hammarby when they were in the second division in Sweden for being too damn defensive. And people, again, when did it become, and we'll get into the game where Canada came at us and eviscerated us. Though if you ask Greg Berhalter and the American soccer media, the guys who work with MLS or influenced by that group, taking care of their buddy, Jay's brother, let's call him Jay's brother because that's how he got the job. He was Jay's brother. We want to talk about that, how they're defending him. And if you ask Greg Berhalter, we outplayed Canada. Really? You lost 2-0, and I thought we controlled the game. Seems like Lord Voldemort over there is a little egomaniacal. Can't realize the mistakes he made. He's been bailed out time and time again over the course of the last 2.5 years. Not by his tactics. Oh, hell no. He's been bailed out by the players. Superior players. When it was the B team in the Gold Cup, the B team guys that are now moving on bailed him out. And in Nations League and all the, again, when you had the B team guys, they bailed him out. The A team guys bailed him out. And they've bailed him out thus far in qualifying. Because he's gotten the tactics wrong in 9 out of 10. The only time he got the tactics right was when they beat Mexico 2-0. And folks might say, well, they're still in position to qualify. When did that become good enough? When I was a kid, when I was in middle school, high school, we're talking the 02, so 98, 02, 06 cycles, 2010 when I was in college. We weren't talking about, we just need to get across the line. Just get across the line in the top 3. Just get there. All we got to do is make the World Cup. No, we were talking about, can we make the quarterfinals with a team that had half the talent, but twice the guts? No depth. Forget depth. Depth in the U.S. national team in those days, for you youngins who are maybe 20 years old now, and not that I'm much older than you, but you're 15 years younger than me. You don't know what those dark ages were like, when we had 15 guys who could play and everybody else was just a body. And now we got 50 guys in Europe. And another 3 dozen in MLS who are on their way. Young kids that got to go. Who, if they don't go, are going to stagnate. And what do you get for the January qualifier? 13 players from Major League Soccer who have not played a match in up to 10 weeks, and it showed like hell. Jesus Ferreira, bright prospect from FC Dallas, 21 years old, hasn't played since November 7th, and it showed against El Salvador. Oh, yeah. He got 2 chances, and he missed them both. While the guy who should have started, Ricardo Pepi, that had a hot hand and then went to Augsburg, was sitting on the bench. Roll around to yesterday. Worthless Giassi Zardes gets the start. And I'm not even being nice anymore. He's 30 years old. He's worthless to the cycle. You going to take a 31-year-old Giassi Zardes to Qatar this fall? If you get there at this point, 2 of the last 3 on the road. I could very easily see Berhalter bundle Mexico and Costa Rica away. And I could see him somehow flush the Panama game at home, too. We're in the process of wasting the greatest generation of American soccer players over 2 cycles. Because we had the kids who should have got in when they were 18 the last cycle, and we entrusted 2 far more capable managers than Greg Berhalter to get them there. The U.S., but they were saddled with the laziest group of American soccer players that have ever existed. The overpaid MLS designated player, didn't leave or came back early group. Matt Beasler, Graham Zusi, who didn't leave the league, stagnated and played like crap in the qualifiers. You had walk-in Mikey, who was so zen that he walked to take a corner kick down in stoppage time in Trinidad against their B team. Lazy Josie, who if he was pissed off, he was the worst player on the field, and if he was motivated, he was the best striker in CONCACAF, but too often towards the end, we got Lazy Josie. And then you got screaming Alejandro Bedoya, who was too busy screaming in the microphones. And they all wanted to get carried across the pitch in Trinidad because it was raining. So there was that. Now you've got the kids, these kids who are in Europe that are, taking it to a level that those guys only dreamed of reaching. And they're doing it at 20. Tyler Adams, Leipzig, Weston McKennie, Juve, Pulisic, Chelsea, Tim Weah, Lille, on and on and on. No. Let's bring in Giassi Zardes to start, who can't hit the broadside of a barn in an A-team match. Giassi Zardes was absolutely worthless for the first 70 minutes against Canada yesterday. And I'm not even getting really into the tactical ineptitude of Greg Berhalter. And people, and you have made, some of these MLS associated writers or the guys. I in a way, I like MLS. Like, they pay guys to write their own BS drivel lines for them. And if they want to pay me and move me to Manhattan, I'll gladly shut it all down. You guys want to pay me, $200,000 to move to New York and be a media guy for you. Sure, I'll say whatever you want for that, and maybe that's what these guys are doing. I don't know. You're getting paid good bucks to do this kind of thing. Sure, yeah, I'll say that Giassi Zardes should start over Ricardo Pepi. You want to pay me that kind of money and give me like a 5-year guarantee? Yeah, sure, set me up. But until that point, I really don't care. They're out there. Christian Pulisic was poor for the U.S. once again on Sunday. No, you slide our best player out to the left wing where he's absolutely worthless and has to float in anyway. Yeah. And haven't we learned by now, too, Greg Berhalter, U.S. Soccer, January for 20-plus years is Camp Cupcake. It's where you bring in the out-of-shape MLS guys that are, quote-unquote, in your pool. Not that one of them belongs there anymore. Because if you're 27 years old and playing in MLS, I got news for you. You suck. In the grand scheme of things, you're no good. You're just an also-ran. There are 100 guys in Europe as good or better than you, not playing for their national teams either. Hundreds of them, maybe, not even 100. And I'm over pretending it. Zardes was abysmal as he's been. He's not an 18 player. Jesus Ferreira, same thing. He was abysmal in the first game because Jesus Ferreira's out of season. Part of that, too. He's a kid, 1, and 2, he's out of season. Maybe if you catch him on the tail end of his season, he's still a little on form. Maybe he contributes something. He's got a European future. He's going to be fine. Puppy Dog Boy was pathetic yesterday. For those of you scoring at home, that's Jordan Morris. Jordan Morris, who turned down a big move to test himself in Europe because his mom got him and his girlfriend a puppy dog. That's why he's Puppy Dog Boy. And he stayed home for the dog. He got paid real well. I've said this before. Good for him. He's making a boatload of money. He should be nowhere near the national team. Same thing, Paul Arriola. I've read some articles today, some folks on Twitter. Well, Arriola's got effort. Okay, he squandered his 2 chances. So what was it worth? And others, I saw other tweets about, they didn't let Tim Weah in the country. Well, Canada's Canada right now. Canada's a disaster. I don't care. I'll call it what it is. We don't do politics, but just look at the news. Well, actually, it's probably not on the news. Get on Twitter or somewhere. You'll find it. There's a pretty big pushback going on in Canada right now. So Tim Weah not getting into Canada, whatever, that didn't decide the game. Berhalter out there doing a PowerPoint presentation. Remember this, everybody, for the team a couple of years ago? He's going to change the way the world views American soccer. Oh, he has, all right. Individually talented, lots of depth, horrible manager. So he did. We went from lazy, crap, overpaid Major League Soccer players in their late 20s and early 30s with 2 great managers who can't put it together because they're lazy to really good young talent with a garbage manager. So he did his job. He did what he said he was going to do. He changed the way the world views American soccer. And he said he's got the players buying in, and people are buying in. Not what I heard coming out of the airport on the way from Columbus after the Costa Rica qualifier. But we'll leave that off to the side. His tactics made John Herdman look like Pep Guardiola last night. You watch how Canada used this kind of, let's see, I'm trying to make it as simple for folks who were kind of watching us that might be more football fans or basketball fans that stick around for what we do with the soccer on Mondays. Let's just call it what it is. Positional play principles, quick ball movement. The Canadian national team, they occupy zones. It puts a midfielder or a defender in a spot where he has to mark two Canadian players. Canada get to that point and they smell blood. The U.S. gets pushed into that position under Greg Berhalter and they're screwed. Because Berhalter's tactics essentially set them up to be in that position. Rather than get these top-notch elite players out there and attack the game, you don't get it. Now you got Adams on a hamstring strain. Chris Richards has another injury. That'll keep him out for a while. Leaves Kellen Acosta, the only backup D-mid on the roster, who last year I thought Kellen Acosta was great. I had him penciled in as an A-teamer. And then things started to trail off. So you're going to get Kellen Acosta in defensive midfield. Buckle up. Buckle up, baby. Honduras coming to St. Paul, Minnesota. Not a whole hell of a lot to play for them, but they can sure spoil this for us. Because Panama's lurking. And with 4 to go, Costa Rica can still catch you. I hate to burst your bubble. The odds of us qualifying are still very high because I'm not impressed with Costa Rica. It's the same team and they're old. But we barely got past them in Columbus. It was the players that did that job, not Greg Berhalter. You're going to end up with something like 8 strikers in 11 World Cup qualifiers, too, because he don't know who the hell he wants up there. Certainly wasn't Matthew Hoppe in the fall, and you could tell Hoppe was pissed off about it. We're using a lot of strong language here today. It's okay. Greg Berhalter deserves it. Voldemort bundled another one. It's almost like he's feeling himself out. 1 start for Ferreira. 1 start for Giassi, my guy. Yes. Mr. Worthless. And 1 start for Pepe. Pifak? Oh, who needs Pifak? 5 goals in Champions League. Oh, Giardes. I need Giassi. He's my guy. I coached him in Columbus. Of course I want Giassi. Ridiculous. Shouldn't be anywhere near the team anymore. It's going to be -10 on Wednesday night. It's going to be frigid. And there's guys out there saying, we should move the game inside to US Bank Stadium where the Vikings play. Why? Maybe I'm just more ruthless because of where I grew up, coming from the New York Metro. No. Why should that game be moved inside? Because it's cold. Honduras used to make us play on a Wednesday afternoon at 2 in the afternoon. They'd shut the country down the night before so everybody would stand outside the hotel and play their drums and scream and set off their bomb fireworks or whatever. They'd set off their flares outside all night so the team wouldn't sleep. It would be 109 degrees in the stadium, 140 on the field, and there'd be 100% humidity. And we'd have to play the game. No, let them play in the cold. I'm tired of that. What is this? Why would we placate Honduras? Oh, let's go into a 72-degree stadium. Now, first off, the weather doesn't matter with Berhalter's tactics. It's not the weather. I forget who it was. I retweeted it yesterday. Was like, oh well, the weather could be. The weather results aren't that good. Maybe it's affecting. No. The weather's got nothing to do with it. Greg Berhalter's crap tactics have everything to do with it. I'm over the MLS experiment of Kellen Acosta, Sebastian Lletget, Christian Roldan, Paul Arriola, and Puppy Dog Boy. I'm marginally impressed with Walker Zimmerman. I'd rather have, if I have to pick an MLS center back outside of Miles Robinson, who's got to get out of the league if he's going to push on, otherwise he's going to stagnate, is Walker Zimmerman. If I had to pick him over Aaron Long, like, please, any day of the week, I got to watch Aaron Long at Red Bull long enough to tell you he was not a national team player, and he got a lot of caps that he didn't really deserve. And all that fluff, West Ham wants Aaron Long. They never wanted Aaron Long. Who the hell are you kidding? What, to loan him to Accrington Stanley? Bristol Rovers, maybe, down in League Two? Because that's his level? Watched him get torn apart in MLS. While he was supposedly the peak. Hopefully the injury, he bounces back from, comes back, contributes for Red Bull New York, but what's he bringing to the table and Matt Miazga doesn't? And I know I'm playing the roster game here because I like to play the roster game. What's he bringing to the table and Matt Miazga doesn't? You trusted James Sands in the summer. You trusted James Sands in the fall. James Sands moves to Rangers. Now you don't trust James Sands. Okay. If we're going to go with it, if we're going to pick an old guy for the roster, give me Tim Ream. At least he still starts for Fulham every game. There's enough depth where you don't need these guys anymore. We're not bringing in our best team. And we're not getting our best results. Greg Berhalter. I don't even know. Let's look at the goal. You have a Matt Turner goal kick going to Arsenal, and I said this, he's getting loaned out. You think Matt Turner's going to be the starting goalkeeper for Arsenal? Anybody who thinks that, man, there's a bridge over the East River I'd like to sell you for $1. Matt Turner's going to get loaned out immediately. Or if they have to hang on to him, it's because they just need a third goalkeeper. There's things that I have way better odds at than Matt Turner starting for Arsenal. He hits a goal kick, doesn't even reach midfield. It's about 20 yards short of Giassi's orders. You can't make this up. This is a Turner who played so well in the fall, earned the number one spot, shot stopping, just destroys this goal kick. Mistake from Turner. Robinson gets caught. Larin, David, ruthless. Clinical. I have an alarm going off right now. You can probably hear it. I probably should take a commercial break. Let's take a pause for the cause. I'm going to regroup, and then we're gonna tear into Greg Berhalter a little bit more on the Corner Kick on Three Rivers Broadcasting.
Bennigan's Restaurant, located at 185 Franciscan Square in Steubenville, Ohio, is your high-energy neighborhood tavern in the Upper Ohio Valley. Their warm and inviting design puts the focus on their chef-driven food, handcrafted cocktails, and of course, the Irish hospitality which they love to serve. Bennigan's of Steubenville has a fully stocked bar and offers a wide variety of traditional American and Irish fare. Bennigan's has always been a neighborhood favorite, not just for food and drink, but as a place to meet friends, chat, and kick back for a while. Bennigan's is open from 11:30 to 10 Sunday through Wednesday and 11:30 to 11 Thursday through Saturday. Visit their website at benniganssteubenville.com and stop in the next time you're passing by campus.
Andrew Krasowski here. Make sure to tune into Franciscan University basketball live on threeriversbroadcasting.com. This week, the Barons will host Waynesburg on Saturday at 3 p.m., St. Vincent College Monday at 8, and Westminster College Saturday, February 5th at 4 p.m. For more information on Barons basketball, visit franciscanathletics.com.
Carnegie Ironworks is Pittsburgh's go-to for artistic, unique, and decorative steel and iron designs. We provide custom fencing, interior and exterior railings, outdoor fire pits, window coverings, and much more. If you can think of it, we can fabricate it. Find us on the web at www.carnegieiron.com. That's Carnegie Ironworks, for when you need it for 500 years. The Polish Falcons of America's new term life insurance plan is the perfect choice for young individuals and families looking to plan for tomorrow today. PFA Term Life can provide a substantial lump sum benefit in the event of a tragic loss, helping loved ones pay off a mortgage, credit cards, student loans, and cover funeral expenses. Learn more by calling 1-800-535-2071. That's 1-800-535-2071 or visiting polishfalcons.org.
All right, we're back here on the Corner Kick on Three Rivers Broadcasting. I'm your host, Alex Fidryshevsky, and we're fired up tonight after the abysmal World Cup qualifier yesterday in Canada and the dumpster fire against El Salvador in Columbus that came before. We were tearing apart Greg Berhalter, the roster. Again, I could sit here and go through the names of all these guys that have moved, are moving, will move, young kids that we should be getting ready, because I talked to JJ about this and we agree. Talent-wise, 4 years from now, the U.S. could be in a position to compete for 26. And I'm not talking make the second round like the soft soccer media in this country, all of Greg's buddies, Jay's brother's buddies, because that's what we got to call him now. Jay's brother's buddies on the mainstream U.S. soccer media, the guys that work at MLS and, all these other places that, again, they're getting paid to do it, so they're going to take care of them. They're going to protect them. Whether those are their marching orders, they actually believe it. Listen, media companies have narratives. Media companies have target audiences and demographics and drive their content, their programming, whatever it is, towards that. Their marketing towards that. I've been in this industry since I was 17. I know how it works. I've run stations, radio, television. We have Three Rivers Broadcasting now. We have a target demographic. I know exactly who we're after, and that's what we're marching towards. This is no different. They're writing for their demographic and whatever. They're writing their angle, what they want to push. And we'll talk the other side. We'll deal in reality while they want to defend them. The U.S. is one slip up away from missing another one. The U.S. is potentially able to take a big step in 26. It's here. I'm not going to say they can win it, but they could. They could be a quarter to semifinal team, third place game team. The talent will be there. The manager, if it's Berhalter, won't. They slip one more time. They could miss a second one in a row. And this one will be worse than the last time because the players were trash last time. It wasn't surprising. They took Trinidad's B- team and played like trash because they were garbage players. And the only two guys that gave a damn out there were, 35-year-old Clint Dempsey pinging the crossbar and Pulisic when he was like 18 years old. The rest of them could have cared less. Now you got a group of 40 or 50 of them that are bought in, an A team of guys in Europe and an A pool, and then a B team of some guys in MLS who can, again, they can get you through the Gold Cup. You can hang 6 on Grenada, put 4 past Panama and when they play their B team, because our B team's way better. But you have the depth, you have the talent, you have the bite, you have these kids who are like, no. I'm going to go play for Juventus. I don't need to play for the Philadelphia Union. No. Whoa. Why would I want to play for the Portland Timbers when I could go sign for Augsburg and play in the Bundesliga against hundreds of elite players every year? The U.S. can make that step. They have that. But you've got guys simply going, well, we can qualify. Like I said at the top of the show. Well, Greg's got us across the line. We could make it. I will reiterate what I said at the top of the show. When did that become okay for U.S. soccer? To simply say, we got there. We got there, guys. We made the World Cup. How can we twist this and market it to say, like, the MLS guys are the only reason we're there? And it was the tactics that Berhalter implemented from MLS to make this work. Yeah, like, how can we do this? No. I look at, like, the O2 team, we're like, okay, looking at it on paper, with you had the Bruce and this crop of guys who were tough, gritty, and said, you're sitting there, or the Bob and the Bruce, and going, quarterfinals. Absolutely, they're tough. But we've passed the point of, like, the U.S. is tough. We've reached the point of the U.S. is talented. The U.S. is developing players. The one thing MLS should exist to serve a purpose for, which they do very, very well, develop talent, and now they are starting to slowly figure out how to sell them to Europe and make a little bit of coin. Because it ain't about, like, well, if you don't give us $30 million, like, to hell with you. And then, Norwich City or whoever, Middlesbrough, who's looking at a player from, pick a team, then, Columbus Crew maybe, just for an example, then goes $30 million for your 19-year-old left back. Okay, we've decided to go to Ukraine and buy one from Shakhtar for $4 million. They've started figuring out that, like, anywhere from 1 to 8. Depending on how good the guy is, 10 if he's at the top shelf, like, $20 million for Daryl DK. I said he's a good offer for DK last year. I said this would be about 10. Though the MLS is starting to figure that out. So at least they serve one little purpose, but you still got, like, the Don meddling here with, there's just that influence still where it's like, well, we'll take Kellen Acosta and we'll take Roldan and we'll take Sebastian Lletget and Paul Arriola and Giassi Zardes, and, like, they're my known guys and I like them, and, they're here and they stink, and, Giassi Zardes was pathetic, but, I put him in Columbus twice to get a cheap pop because, the crowd knows I'm full of it, and I'm a weak manager, because that's the sign of a weak manager at a national team. When you're playing in a club stadium and you bring a guy in and you put him in the game just to get the roar from the home crowd and get the little chant going on TV, the "Hey baby," where they do, "Hey baby." Well, they do that with Giassi. Can you score a goal? Or whatever hell song they sing in Columbus for Giassi Zardes. So the whole crowd was doing their little thing. Yeah. Meanwhile, I watched him run past, Matthew Hoppe and a few other guys who just kind of tilted their head against Costa Rica and were like, okay. Yeah. Okay, Giassi's going in. You think these guys don't know? Of course they know. But anyway, again, I could talk about the roster selection all day, but worse to me was the mind-boggling post-match presser. And I briefly touched on this earlier in the program. Greg Berhalter had the cojones to go out there and say, quote, and Amadeo, our partner from Countdown Qatar, will love that I dropped that one. He had the cojones to go out there and say, this game, I can't single anyone out. It was an entire team effort that was dominant. It's hard for me to remember a performance away from home that this dominant that wasn't getting a result, end quote. Man, whatever Greg Berhalter's on, get me like 10 of those. Man, I wish I could walk through my life with rose-colored glasses that great. My team just got shredded, but yeah, we were awesome, man. That was great. Like, we just lost. But, like, yeah, I thought we played great, so that's all that matters. Like, I wish I could walk through life and be like, man, we didn't close that sale, but, like, man, I tell you, man, that third slide, I killed it on that third slide. Man, that was good. That was the best third slide presentation in the history of third slide presentations. I'm so proud of myself. That was a great third slide. No, instead I'm sitting here going, what did we do wrong? Was the price wrong? Was this wrong? Was that wrong? Was the pitch? Let's go back and talk to them after the fact and say, what is it that you didn't buy? What was wrong that you didn't buy? How can we rectify this for when we work with you next year? No. I wish I could have that. Greg Burrow. Yeah, man, we were awesome. We lost 40 of 70 duels in the second half, and we only got 3 shots off. But we were awesome. They lost over 50% of the duels in the air, but we were awesome. Voldemort here, Jay's brother, is the gift that just kept on giving in that press conference, too, because, like, Berhalter got more pathetic as it went on. Quote, they couldn't handle our physicality, end quote. Quote, second follow that. We dominated, quote, we dominated. When you look at everything, ... Duels won. You lost 40 out of 70 in the second half. Like, the hell game was he watching? That was borderline. Like, I don't even know what the word is. I want to say that it was a joke, like it was comical. Like, okay, Greg, like, you pulled the wool over our eyes in the press conference. Ha ha, he. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, you dominated. Like, can we get back to business now? Like, what really went sideways for you guys today? Cricket. Yeah, somebody get me whatever like meditation Greg Berhalter must do, or whatever his drink of choice is, or whatever it is that he likes that, like, has him in this, like, mindset. Please just get it for me. Tell me what I gotta do. Everybody will probably like me a lot more. I'll be less high strung. Oh. John Herdman has now tactically taken apart Greg Berhalter home and away. His team was more motivated. His team was more prepared. The tactics were far, far better. And, you know, a lot of folks will say possession. You know, the first game with Canada. I'm just going through my notes that I typed out before. U.S. had 70+% of the possession in the 1-1 draw. Never trailed in the game. 70+%. I think it was like 71, 72%. And Alphonso Davies played. It's about what you do with the ball. They outshot Canada. You know, won about 50% of the duels. But they lost the duels at Sunday, held less of the ball, allowed more shots, and the difference was a second. He used 3 of his 5 subs again on out-of-season MLS players and started a 4th who was ice cold. And it wasn't because it was cold. Something has to change or the golden generation could be wasted under Jay's brother. And Jay's brother is pretty well protected because Jay's brother's buddies are also heavily involved now. If they make it, somehow, it'll be in spite of Jay's brother, and they're going to extend him. Jay's brother also has Anthony Hudson on the national team coaching staff. The same Anthony Hudson, and I did this. Where were we? This was going into 20. This wasn't 8. I don't even think this was this 18? Or was it 14? It might have been 18. I think it was 18 when New Zealand lost to Peru. Yeah. It was going in. I think it was going into 18. The same guy who brought in when he was coaching New Zealand, I think it was 9 strikers to take on Peru. One of the guys he brought in was Rory Fallon, who was 38 years old, playing in the 8th division of English soccer. And he managed to lose Tyler Boyd to the United States, who we've absolutely wasted as well. Poor kid would have been better off sticking it out with the All Whites. Would have been an every game starter for them. Impact player. And then won 17% of his games in Colorado. 8 wins, 28 losses, 10 draws. Yep, national team assistant coach. That same guy who got it so wrong at a national team level before that, that's no easy task to take that New Zealand team with a semi-professional top league that, I don't even know what they did to it. They blew it up. It's some type of weird regionalized thing now. And it's some type of I think promotion or relegation or qualification into some national competition. It's very odd. It's bizarre what they've done. But you could get through Oceania pretty easily if you construct the right team. And they've kind of set themselves up to do that now. And they've got more depth and whatnot, but he had some talent to work with, and I think he got Peru all wrong. He bundled it pretty bad, and then Colorado showed that he wasn't very good. But assistant coach of the national team, they'll stick around. You want to know where the tactics are going sideways? You have guys like Anthony Hudson as an assistant coach. 17% winning percentage in MLS. Not whatever it was. Like I said, 8 or 9 strikers that were semi-professionals bringing in to play against Peru. When he was only going to start one. You knew he was only going to start Chris Wood up top. And I'm going back now, but this is the mindset that you have inside the national team right now. A guy who was I have Chris Wood. I have Jeremy Brockie, who's a good, solid attacker. I have 2 options. I don't need 9 attackers. If Wood nicks one, we're good. Or if he goes down, I at least have another guy who can bang. No, I'm going to bring in 8 of them. And not use them, but I'm going to bring them there. This is the influence that's in the U.S. national team right now. Tone deaf, not paying attention. The U.S. starts horrifically under Greg Berhalter, too. Again, I'm perusing my notes, trying to see where I'm at. They have been outscored in the first half. They have gone scoreless in the first half of these qualifiers 8 times. They've got an 11-3 advantage in the second. So they mess up the tactics in the first half, and then talent takes over. And in Berhalter's opinion, they're wearing teams down in the first half. That was another great quote. This guy was close. I could tell you this guy was probably pretty close to losing the locker room. It was close. It was touch and go going into Costa Rica. It was touch and go. After the loss to Panama, the pitiful start. They coughed one up under 60 seconds into Costa Rica to start the match. Serginho Dest laser bailed them out, and then they ended up with an own goal. The only game he got right was Dos Cicero. Stole a point in Jamaica. That's what you want to do in Jamaica, because that's always, as JJ likes to call it, the sticky wicket. It's the tough game. Too many points have been given away again, though. And one slip up at home, they could not make it again. I'm going to reiterate that. Whether it's Honduras or Panama, one slip up and they're not there. Costa Rica away is not going to be an easy game. Mexico away is going to be not an easy game. Now, on paper, the U.S. is incredibly more talented than the Mexicans. Our depth is way, way better than theirs, but they have Azteca. No matter how you try to prepare in North America, if you're the United States, you go to Colorado or wherever it is, that's the highest point in the country that you could possibly train in, you go. If you're Canada, if you can find some soccer pitch up in the Rockies, you go do it. But you can't replicate the altitude, the smog, and the atmosphere at Estadio Azteca. So you're still going. You're going to a boxing match with one hand tied behind your back already just because of that. It's like when you go play Bolivia. Bolivia they win at home because La Paz is 25,000 feet above sea level. Not really, but you know what I mean. Mexico's got that in their advantage. I think we've covered last night enough. I covered the disaster. Let's just end with what he said about Giassi Zardes. When they asked him about why he started him, quote, "That was an easy one. We knew what the game was going to look like. We knew it was on a very narrow field, a small field. We know it's going to be a physical game, and we thought Giassi would give us that physicality. And from looking at his performance, I think he did that. I don't think we got him enough service in the box to get him dangerous. He's not dangerous. He's not dangerous in an A-team national team match." Quote, "Ricardo is a player that just went over to Germany. He's just breaking in there, and I'm sure he's going to have a long run with the national team. It's just about getting him confidence and getting him game time at the highest level, and I think he'll eventually do that." Okay, then why didn't you play him yesterday against Canada? Why didn't you start him in the other qualifier? Quote, "With Jesus and Giassi, they're not in season yet, so it's hard to really see the form that they're in to say, okay, this is the guy who's going to be leading the line for 3 games in a row." Quote, "So it's part of a game plan specific, and part of it is the form of our strikers." Okay, buddy, Jay's brother. Yeah, all right. You know what? As we start to end the show, because we've got about maybe 8 minutes left. Okay, Jay's brother, you want to talk about form, huh? Josh Sargent, who you left off the team, 2 days later banged in 2 in the Premier League. PFOC has 11 for young boys in the Swiss League and 5 in Champions League. We don't know what Giassi Zardes is going to do for us. He's in preseason. What about the guy playing in Champions League who's in season? What about him? Oh, no. I mean, hell, if you're going to bring in Giassi Zardes, put Josie Altidore out there. What the hell do you have to lose? If you're going to go with somebody, at least he's proven he can play at the A level. Maybe he's a little angry and he comes in and hammers some people around and scores a goal. Ay. These are real quotes from Greg Berhalter. Oh, yeah, we want to build Ricardo's confidence by saddling him on the bench and not moving him for 2 games, just like we did with Matthew Hoppe, who unfortunately took a knock. You got a host of attackers who you could call upon. Chris Mueller just went over to Hibernian. Seems that the Gaffers had very nice things to say about him. You know, he's going to have to earn his way into the roster there, but it looked like the Gaffer was, you know, everyone seemed pretty high on him over at Hibernian in Scotland. There's another guy who, like, he had a very short break and then he jumped right back into season. You know, DK just went over to West Brom. There's going to be guys. But okay, we want to see what they can do. You know, I guess you could argue that Ricardo Pepe's like trying to get back into season form. He was doing just fine in the fall for the national team. There's a lot of players who didn't get called in. I mean, I know John Brooks didn't get called in, and there's a lot of people who are like, well, where's John Brooks? Everything I've heard about John Brooks, everything I've read about John Brooks, extremely talented player, little bit of an attitude problem, hurts him with the national team. Sometimes doesn't bring it as hard for the national team as he does for Wolfsburg. Bit of an issue. But can you get past it? How do you get him past that? How do you sit down with him and say, hey, John, what do we need to do to help get you mentally at the same level for the United States that you're at for Wolfsburg when you're on your game there? And the thing is that goes across multiple positions, what he said. I guess I'm starting to get tired of just railing on Berhalter right now, but man. Well, Roldan's had a season. He hasn't played in a while. Kellen Acosta hasn't played in a while. Sebastian Lletget hasn't played in a while. Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman, Turner, Ariel, none of them. None of them. Late October, early November, some of them. Yeah, and you're in February. Man, you bring in Luca Del Torre, you don't even want to use him. You bring in Luca Del Torre, you don't even put him in a game. Playing at Heracles. I don't get it. But you want to flip over to the neighbor in the north, though. They're for real. And the other thing, you know, and I saw one of the guys from MLS. I forget who it was. I retweeted it. The team with more MLS players on the field is winning right now. Our league is so great. We have to push the narrative. Well, that's an indictment of American MLS players. We have 10 times the population, and the Canadian MLS players are better than ours. Damn. Good for them. Guys like Jonathan Osorio, Mark Anthony Kaye. How long before their guys going over to Europe pass ours? Is that next? Is that next? You know, they got the Canadian Premier League now. 10 years from now, probably have 15 teams in that league. They'll all have academies, and what are they gonna? They're gonna be pumping out better players than us across the board. I mean, for me, that's the indictment. It's not like, oh, they had more MLS guys. We work for MLS. Yay, MLS. Like, no, that means the Canadians are developing better players that are domestic than we are. You know, and that means we didn't bring in our best team because we got all these guys in Europe, and we're going to bring in the out-of-season domestic players. So their out-of-season domestic players are better than ours. Congratulations. You know, I've said for years about how, you know, like MLS isn't helping the United States exclusively. Like, we spent so much time signing CONCACAF national team players that Costa Rica got really good, that Panama got really good, that Honduras got really good, that Trinidad has gotten more competitive. Now there's teams in Canada that play in MLS, and now Canada's gotten really good. We've helped everybody else just as much as we've helped ourselves. And, you know, And I give credit again to John Herdman and Mauro Biello, who came up with a game plan along with Piccantini, who managed Curacao for a spell. Turned out to be a pretty smart hire for them. And started kind of turning that whole, like, let's get guys from all over the world who were of our descent to come back. I'm like, that's someone you may want to watch in the future, Curacao. If this continues, this trend, there's going to be some pretty good players coming from there because of the Dutch connection. It'd actually be really good. Give them one more cycle. They'll be tough. But those three did a fantastic job. They came up with a game plan that made the U.S. look silly. Their MLS players did outplay ours. And personally, I think some of them over the last couple qualifiers have earned themselves a look and should be earning themselves a look. They're of the right age. They're of the right age. Kamal Miller. Why not? Center back played very, very well. He's one. Alistair Johnson, another one at 23 years old, these guys played well. Yeah, their MLS guys played well. Mark Anthony Kaye probably not going to leave, getting paid a boatload of money now. Same thing with Osorio. He's Toronto's guy. But they outperformed ours. And they did it without their best player. No Alphonso Davies. He was watching at home. Man, their attackers are just as good as ours. We got to wake up and smell the coffee here. We'll see. We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. That's about it. We got one more qualifier coming up on Wednesday. We'll break it down. We'll break it on down next week. Break it on down next week. There's a lot to learn. And I'm going to leave it with no matter how poorly they play, if the players make the calls themselves on the pitch, however they have to do it, whether it's, Tyler Adams calling an audible, or whoever's out there, McKennie, Adams isn't going to play the next one, somewhere in the half to switch the point of attack or to switch something up without Voldemort's permission. Maybe they'll have a shot and they'll save his job, which could be bad and good. It's like this. We're in this difficult space. You want to make the World Cup and you want to perform really well at the World Cup. But if they make the World Cup, Berhalter keeps his job. Do you see the conundrum we're in American soccer? Because and if they go there and do well in Qatar, which they're not, if Berhalter goes to Qatar with these garbage tactics, you're going to go home 0-3 with a -9 goal differential. You draw Argentina, Brazil, Italy, Spain. I mean, you're a 4-0. You're down 4. You're a 4-0 loser right now. His tactics, you get run off the field by anybody who's really good. Or even marginally good. You take the U.S. and put him up against Poland right now, Lewandowski will hit 2 easily. He'll shred Walker Zimmerman. It's a level he's never even dreamed of being at. Without major changes, one, they could miss Qatar. They can't screw up again. We're back to where we were. Taylor Twellman, what are we doing? We're one screw up away from being back there as a soccer nation. CONCACAF is the second, actually, it's easier than Oceania. CONCACAF is the easiest path to the World Cup. If you're the United States, you couldn't have asked for a better place for this country to be. The competition with where we're at and they're at should be a walk in the park. Tough game in Canada, tough game in Mexico, maybe one sticky wicket in Central America. There's so much talent now that we should take these games. Oceania, it's the New Zealand show, but then they got to go tackle CONMEBOL or Africa, or so, depending on which pot gets picked, they could end up playing Colombia. That like they had Peru. CONCACAF's easier. All you got to do is get in the top 3, and you're at the dance. Should be easy. We make it hard. We have the talent. The tactics are making it hard. We used to qualify with 2 to spare. Now we're sitting here 4 to go with a trip to Azteca and a trip to Costa Rica to end it with a home game against Panama. You could be looking at the Panama game, depending on how Honduras brings it or if they don't, because I have no faith in us going to Mexico and getting a result. We will be lucky to get a draw. But with the current tactics of Greg Berhalter, I have no faith that we go to Mexico and get a positive result. In spite of Dos Acero. That Dos Acero was the only game he got right. Circle I would, if they get the result on Wednesday, circle Panama. Because it's going to be win and in. That's probably where we'll be. Beat Panama, we go. Give points away, now you got to go to San Jose and beat Costa Rica down there. Because again, right now, I have no confidence that this team goes to Mexico and gets a point. Not right now. After the last cycle, I still had limited hope that we could go to Mexico and get a point because of the tactics. See how it goes on Wednesday, and then we'll regroup next week and start to talk a little bit more about the Riverhounds and the preseason of MLS and whatever else we're going to get into in the World Cup. 2 out of the last 3 are away. They need to win tomorrow. On Wednesday. They need to win on Wednesday, and they need to hit a couple of goals to give themselves a cushion. And then on March 27th, it is beat Panama. If you can steal a point in Mexico, beat Honduras, steal a point in Mexico, get Panama, the Costa Rica game won't matter. The Costa Rica game won't matter. Give one away at home, then you got to win down there. That's where we're at. With Jay's brother as the national team coach right now. We'll catch you here next week. Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report on Wednesday. Tomorrow is, who do we have? North Hills Mars tomorrow. Good basketball game. High school game that we're going to cover. And, yeah, that's it. God bless. Have a great week from all of us here at Three Rivers Broadcasting. You've been watching The Corner Kick.